Well, hello and welcome along to another video, and this is a part 2. But don't worry if you didn't see part 1, because I will be explaining everything as we go along. So just in case you want to watch part 1 of this video, then there is a link to it in the video description below, and if your device supports it, and trust me, not all devices do, there will be a link somewhere on the screen above my very shiny head. And as you can see, I am out driving in my Nissan Ariya. The first part was about my Nissan Ariya, and it was about specifically some issues I had had with my car. So these were in no particular order. Number one, the rear view cameras, not the camera that you can get in the Ariya up here for your like mirror, not that one, the actual reversing camera, that was glitching. The lane assist part of the adaptive cruise control, which Nissan rather enthusiastically called Pro Pilot. There's nothing really professional or pilot about it, but you know, it's adaptive cruise control. The lane assist part, the bit that keeps you in between the white lines, that was not working all of the time. And thirdly, and perhaps most concerning of all, on just one occasion, mind, my car refused to go at all. So I had to take my car into the Nissan dealership because it would have been weird to take it to a Ford dealership, wouldn't it? Why would I do that? So I took it into the Nissan dealership, not because of those problems specifically, but because the car had a recall. So I had to go in and have a software update. As you will know if you watched the first part of this series, there were actually 2 software updates that were put on the car at that time. And I asked them if they could have a look at these 3 issues for me. So they did, and the video finished, part 1 finished, with me picking the car up to be told that they hadn't been able to reproduce any of those problems. So the rear view camera was fine, but to be fair to them, they did check all the cables. They showed me on their little video afterwards that they sent me, which was nice, that they had checked all of the cables to the camera and said that there was nothing that they could see that was wrong with it. The car obviously was going, so that was a bit weird. But the lane assist, that also worked as well. So they said, we can find nothing. Now, the only thing that I thought was a little bit odd about that is that these EVs basically are computers on wheels, really. And computers take log files. They log things that are going on. Computers love to do things like that. And I felt it was a bit odd that the logs in the computer hadn't told them that there had been these issues. That was a bit weird. But I do trust my dealership, actually. They're quite good. They seem fairly upfront to me. So I thought, well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. So we're going to pick the story up now, 4 weeks later. So that part 1 I filmed at the end of November 2023. We're going to fast forward now to the end of December 2023 and see what happened next. So it's a few weeks later now, and I'm actually on my way to the Nissan dealer, and I'm driving a Nissan Leaf. So that's a bit weird. What's happened there then? Well, my car has gone in for its first ever service. Now, it's an EV. Hardly anything needs doing to an EV, especially after 12 months in which I have done 6,000 miles, barely that probably. But Nissan being Nissan, they want the cars to go in on a much regular schedule than they probably need, in all honesty. So it's gone in. Unsurprisingly, there is nothing on the service that needs doing with the actual car. But anyway, they had it for a few hours and they gave me a Nissan Leaf. So this is the first time that I've ever driven a Leaf. I think it's the first time I've ever even been in a Nissan Leaf, if I'm being honest. And it's very nice to drive. It's a nice car to drive. This is a 73 plate. It's a fairly new car, and I'm enjoying it. It's not. It's a bit for the interior. It's a bit like a petrol car, really. It's not very much space that you expect in an EV. But other than that, this is a really pleasant car to drive. I mean, it's an EV. All EVs are nice to drive. The thing I've been particularly interested in trying is the one pedal driving, because the big difference that people tell me between the Nissan Leaf and the Nissan Ariya is that the one pedal driving in the Ariya, which I know myself because I use it all the time, doesn't actually bring you to a complete stop whereas the one pedal driving in the Leaf does. And I'm surprised at what a difference that makes. And I've been commenting, and I've said in previous videos that actually I'm probably not bothered about it because I don't know any different. But I'm just coming up to a roundabout here, and I've been able to come there to a complete stop on one pedal. Yeah, I have to say that I think that the one pedal driving in the Leaf is really nice, and I kind of wish my Ariya did that. You might be able to tell that it is chucking it down with rain, so it's probably not helping the audio very much, and I wish I'd brought my mic with my lapel mic with me. It's the sort of day, if you're a dog owner, I'm a dog owner, and you get used to kind of venturing out in all weathers. You know, you get used to becoming muddy frequently, but it's one of those rare occasions when I open the door, my dog looked at me, I looked at her, and we both thought, shall we? Let's stay inside, shall we? Because it is a storm today. It's storm something, can't remember what it was called. So before my car went in for its service, I mentioned to the dealer about this intermittent fault that I'm having with the lane assist that we spoke about earlier in the video. Now, it's no longer an intermittent fault. Every time you press the lane assist button on the steering wheel, you get a fault on the screen immediately. So I said that to them today. I said, it's going to go wrong. It's going wrong for me all the time now. In addition to that, I was also getting the car making a weird beeping noise like this. And I couldn't recognise that beeping sound. I thought, well, it's not the beeping. It's clearly not the reversing, the parking sensors. It's not that. And I thought it's also not the sound that the car makes when it thinks there might be a cyclist or pedestrian going past you that way. It's not that, because you get a warning symbol coming up. So I thought, I don't know what that is. So luckily it did it while I was on the way to drop the car off, and we filmed it. My wife was in the car with me because we were going somewhere else as well, so she was able to film it. And I gave them the bit of video and said, well, have a look at that. And when they called me, they said, okay, they're both the same thing. And the same thing that's causing the issue is a faulty steering wheel. And that actually doesn't surprise me, because when I looked on the Ariya forums months ago, there were lots of people saying, I've got problems, I've got these faults coming up, I need a new steering wheel. So this came as no surprise to me, because of the wonders of the internet. I sort of knew that I could have told them that's what it needed doing. So they've said, we've got to get a new steering wheel. And the new steering wheel has to come from Japan. So it's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get here, because I think it has to swim or something. I'm not sure the reason, but it's going to take a long time to get here. So I mean, I've just got to, at least I can carry on driving the car. I mean, 21st century problems. I can drive the car. That's the main thing. So I'm not, overly bored. I just can't use the lane assist function, and the car is very occasionally going to do a weird beeping sound while I'm driving it. But I can live with that. It is what it is. But at least finally we're going to get that sorted out, because it's not costing me anything, because it's all covered on the warranty. Now, I've stopped off at my local Sainsbury's supermarket because they've got some of these new chargers in here, but they're not actually activated yet. They're called Smart Charge. They're actually branded Chem Power, but they are Sainsbury's things, but they're not actually. They've been here for weeks and weeks and weeks, but they're not actually in service yet. And they've got this little kind of contactless machine on here. There's nothing smart about them, if I'm being brutally honest. They are just chargers with contactless, which all chargers have to be now, of course. But they're quite slim. They're quite good looking chargers. They're not big bulky affairs. And they've got 2 connectors here. Now, I read somewhere that one of them was a CHAdeMO and one of them was CCS, but they both look the same to me. So I don't know whether they're both CCS actually, but I'm not going to touch it in case I get told off. Now they've got here 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 4 of them, which I'm assuming is 1 CCS and 1 CHAdeMO in each, unless they're both CCS. I don't know. Perhaps I should just have a little crafty look. I don't want to set an alarm off. But I believe they're 150 kilowatt chargers, and I had a discussion with a couple of people actually on Twitter, including my good friend Mr. EV. Has a wonderful channel if you're interested in EVs, and he says he really likes 150 kilowatt chargers, and I get that, I understand it. And I was saying, well, surely having more chargers at a lower rate, say 7 kilowatt chargers or 22 kilowatt chargers or something, if your car can handle that. Mine can't, but some can, will be better, because then you can have more cars plugging in. And as you get more and more EVs, my logic is you want more chargers for the more EVs to plug into. Does that make sense? Whereas he was making the point, which is a valid one, that some people may come here who are not shopping and want to actually charge up, and a 150 gives you quite a decent charge in a not too long time frame, really. So I can see all sides of the argument, in all honesty, but these are quite cool, I suppose. They look okay. Okay, so let's pick things up then, where we are now. So what actually happened next is that it wasn't 6 weeks for the steering wheel to swim its way over from Japan land. That isn't what happened. I actually had a phone call from the dealership a week, no more than 10 days, certainly, after I'd taken the car in for the service, to say, steering wheels, they're back in stock. They couldn't fit me in for a fortnight into their service area, which is fine. They need to book up car services and all the stuff that they do, so that's fine. I also had all sorts of stuff going on as well, so I kind of didn't really want to book in as soon as they were able to take me. So I knocked it on myself then a couple of weeks. So we're now in early February 2024, and I'm on my way to the dealership to have the new steering wheel fitted to my Nissan Ariya. And that should fix all the problems with the lane assist that we were talking about. So the lane assist issue and the beeping that I've been getting, that kind of thing, that should all now happily go away. But what about the car not going at all? Because that was, the thing that worried me, that concerned me the most. In the forums, on social media, all sorts of people said to me, almost with one voice, 12-volt battery problem. I mean, it had that written all over it. And I think from the little bit of research that I've done myself as well, following that feedback that I had, and thank you very much to everybody who sent me those comments, it's certain that that's what it was. The little gadget that I had, if you saw in part one, that checks the voltage, because the downside of that is that it's checking the voltage when the car is on, and the clear thing, as was pointed out by many people, and I knew this as well, was the key thing is the voltage of the battery when the car is off, because that's going to determine whether everything's going to work when you want the car to start, basically. So it was a 12-volt battery issue. Now, this leads on very nicely to another thing that I want to talk about, which is how I pitched that original video. Because look at the thumbnail. There's me. It's saying EV problems. I'm looking really harassed, and I've even put some fire in the back of the thumbnail just to really kind of, labour the point. But I was kind of, in a way, having a bit of a social experiment here, because there are all sorts of people out there, weird people, who are, for inexplicable reasons, quite anti-EV, and, oh goodness, they're really anti sort of heat pumps and things. When I talk about stuff like that, oh my goodness, these people are off the charts with their just bile that they're spewing your general direction. You wouldn't believe it. And I kind of wanted to see, I thought a lot of people, if I put a thumbnail up of a certain type, a lot of people who fall into that camp will probably watch that video. And I think they probably did, because out of all the videos that I've ever made on this channel, it is the one that has had the most dislikes. And that's probably because I wasn't going on going, EVs are rubbish. But people did say that in the comments. Here's a really insightful comment. EVs are shit. Okay, thanks. Very nicely discussed. You put your points across there very, very well. Thank you very much. But I think the really important thing to note is that, despite the fact that I was kind of angling the video in a particular way, it was clickbait basically, and I wanted to see what would happen. I did that deliberately. All of the things that happened to the car, the glitchy rear view camera, the lane assist issue, and the 12-volt battery problem, all of those can and do happen to ICE cars. All the time. There was nothing there that was specifically an EV issue. And yet people still say, oh yeah, EVs are a load of rubbish. Look all the problems you've had. They're rubbish, aren't they? Yeah, but I've had 12-volt battery problems in an ICE car before. All of these other things, they're not specifically EV problems. And I just thought it was an interesting thing to do, an interesting sort of social experiment in a way, to put a video out to make it look as if I was going to be laying the boot into EVs, when really, I wasn't. If you saw part one, you will know that they gave me a horrible little Juke, that's what I called it, which there were certain things I liked about that car, but overwhelmingly it's not a car that I would ever really want to go in again. You know, no offence if you've got one, but, you know, I wasn't impressed. The Leaf, on the other hand, I liked, mainly because it was an EV, but, you know, it was nice to have finally driven a Leaf. I don't know what I'm getting today. I have a horrible feeling. They told me when I booked the car that I was going to get a Qashqai, and when I phoned to confirm the booking, they said it was going to be another Juke. So I really, really don't know. But we'll see what I get, because I'm nearly there and I'm really early. They've given me another Juke. Well, this one is a 23 plate. Not that that makes it any better, frankly. And the heated seats are on, and I can't find the button to switch it off. So that's annoyed me for a start. She did say that they had booked out a Qashqai for me today, but they couldn't give it to me for some reason. They probably saw part one of this video and thought, you know what, we're going to give him another Juke because we hate him. I mean, look at this. I mean, look at this. This big squashy thing on top of the dashboard. What's this for? I mean, what is he? It looks like the car's trying to audition for the Peaky Blinders. So I was hoping in this video that I would be able to give my review, as it is, of a Qashqai, because I've never driven a Qashqai before, and it is one of Britain's most popular cars. But I won't be able to do that now, and it's pretty pointless me reviewing another Juke, because I hated the first one, and I don't think really that my opinion is going to have changed very much in the last 2 months. And it's going, and the reason I really hated the Juke before was not so much the fact that it was a Juke, but it was a petrol car, and I probably would have hated the Qashqai for the same reason, in all honesty. I have turned into an EV snob. I am a snob for EVs, and I admit it. I completely admit it. EVs, they're just better to drive. I mean, this is... I put my foot on the accelerator when I went to go at this car. I thought it was broken. It didn't move. I had to really put my foot on the... I'm going to have to do it. Oh, my goodness. Ah! Don't worry, I'm fine. Although the camera did fall off the dashboard because I've got no way of fixing it in this particular car. And it then miraculously managed to turn on the hazard lights as it fell off the dash, and then had to look for the button for those. And I still haven't found the button to turn the heat seat off. So apparently there are only two engineers that actually work on the Ariya. So you know, although it's quite a quick fix to put a new steering wheel on, I suspect they remove the steering wheel, existing one, and then put the new one on, and probably drive the car to make sure it will go round bends. I suspect that's probably how it works. It doesn't take that long, but not many engineers actually work on that electric vehicle, so the other people probably haven't done the training course. So that's why they need the car all day. Cool, I'm getting really hot in here. How do you turn this thing off? There's all sorts of buttons, and I don't know. Oh, hang on, what's that? Oh, I think that's it. I think I found the button to turn the heated seats off. So, despite the fact that I've managed to turn the heated seats off, the car is still quite hot. So, I don't know what's going on. I turn this dial. What turns this dial? What happens? 18 now. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. And behind me is another Nissan Juke. I expect they're like buses. There'll be another one along in a minute. Now, I asked the woman who I dropped the car off. She's called Jade. She's ever so nice. And I said to her, "Can I ask you a stupid question?" And I bet she thought, hello, here we go, got the right one here. And I said, how do you pronounce Ariya? Because I pronounce it Ariya, and everybody I know has pronounced it Ariya. The salespeople called it an Ariya. In the launch presentation, they called it Ariya. But ever since I've started this journey, everyone at the dealership has been calling it an Ariya. Now, she said, apparently it's like scone and scone. So, you know, whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to stick with Ariya, but, you know, you could call it whatever you like. It doesn't matter. So there's a Juke behind me, and there's now a Qashqai in front. And they're all petrol cars, and they're all horrible. I don't really want to repeat myself, but really I don't. But the first video I said lots of horrible things about the Nissan Juke, and my opinions have not changed. So what I need to do now is head home and wait for a phone call from the dealership, and then go back, fetch my Ariya, and hopefully the problems will have gone away. So I have the new steering wheel in my Ariya. Hurrah! So I'm going to turn the car on now, make sure I don't get any error messages to start with, in which case I'll be going straight back inside to say what's going on. They took the car out for a 5-mile test drive, so they gave it a good go, and they managed in doing so to use 5% of the battery. So I don't know, perhaps they were towing it a bit. I've no idea. I'll just see if I get a ticket through the post. Right, so that's good. I suppose one way of me telling whether this works or not is to actually push the Pro Pilot button, because it won't work because I'm sitting stationary at the dealership at the moment. But at least if I pushed the button before, it immediately gave me an error. So I'll do that then. Right, so here is the Pro Pilot button. It's big and it's blue. So if I now press that button, and we'll see, press the button, ta-da! Okay, so no error, which is of course what I was expecting, because that's why they've that's why they've replaced the steering wheel. So I'll have to give it a go now on the road and see if it will actually work. When I got home after picking up the courtesy car, I was reminded by my wife that I have driven a Qashqai before, because earlier on I said I hadn't, and this was going to be some weird review of what I hated about that car. But it turns out I did actually have a Qashqai in the past, briefly, as a courtesy car. I can't remember why. I think it was when I had a Honda Civic. I used to have a Honda Civic, that was my last ICE car. And for some reason it had to go in for something, and I had a Qashqai as a courtesy car. I don't know why I didn't have a Honda, that's the thing that's confusing me. But I didn't own a Nissan, so why would I have had a... Anyway, I had a Qashqai for some reason. And the reason my wife remembers this is because she had to drive it as well. And I think she's still having nightmares about it because she doesn't normally drive a courtesy car when we get one. It's all she can do to bring herself to drive the car we own. Driving one that we've actually got on loan really, really doesn't go down well with her. So, but she had to drive it for some reason to do something. And yeah, she can remember that. I clearly had forgotten about it. So what can we say then in summary in this video? So clearly I had some issues, but the first 9 months of owning this vehicle were trouble-free. I had no problems with it, and then I had a little bit of a glitchy time, but those have all been sorted out now, really. I'm quite happy. The new steering wheel, I'm sure, has sorted things out. I'm about to find out because I am on a dual carriageway. I'm going to hit Pro Pilot, I'm going to put the speed thing in, and sure enough, it is now driving the car is driving itself, and it is driving and keeping me in lane, and all by itself. Oh, hello, warning. Yeah, it's a warning because I took my hands off the wheel, which you're not supposed to do. So there we are. But I have a nice green steering wheel looking at me, which you can't see, but take it from me, it is doing everything that it should be doing. So that's wonderful. And what else can I say about it? Well, the other issues I'm sure were just little glitches, and I'm not really worried about those. I'm pretty happy now that normal service has been resumed. Thank you. Yes, very happy. So, I think we can safely say that this video has come to a satisfactory conclusion. I have a new steering wheel, and I think the problems that I have had are, as far as I can see, resolved. But if you want to know how things progress from here, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell and you'll know when new content comes out. Leave your comments below because I always love to read them, even the weird nasty ones from the EV haters. And there will be more videos coming up, not just EV stuff, but I'll also be talking more about my home heating situation because I have an air source heat pump, I have solar panels, there's more things going on there, which I'm quite excited about, and I will tell you about those in future videos as well. So, see you next time for more updates, and thank you so much for watching.